Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Midwest Mindset with just Paul Tyson today. So BJ has taken a little bit of a sabbatical from these, but we'll be back hopefully very soon. We have a very exciting guest coming up in February, and I'll leave that kind of just as a cliffhanger there, and BJ will be back for that. But I'm using BJ from now on. From if you've listened to our last podcast, it was great to have his brother-in-law, Eric Page, on. If you haven't had a chance, please go back and listen to that podcast. It was a very I thought it was a very exciting podcast. I thought it was very informational for me, listening to Brett or BJ and Eric talk back and forth about just kind of their relationship as not only brother-in-laws but best friends. I have something very similar, so hopefully maybe that'll be something that I'll bring to you in the future as well. But today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter, right? It's just me, but I think it's going to bring some value. So we were talking about fatherhood the last 2-3 episodes. Today we're going to talk a little bit about that mindset. Right now is that time of year where we start to fall off our New Year's resolutions, right? I've seen it. Teaching at Lifetime Fitness, it's one of the things that I see is that all of a sudden the class sizes start to dwindle back, right? Where they were packed the first week, second week, third week, and now that fourth week and heading into February, it starts to slow down. So that's why I'm doing my Feel Good Challenge. And so if you get a chance, just email me at ptyson1@gmail.com and sign up for that for February 1st. But today's episode is more about what do we do? How do we get out of our own heads? So this is the time of the year when we're falling off our New Year's resolutions, our New Year's goals, some of the things that we promised ourselves that we would be doing, whether that's less alcohol, whether that's eating better, whether that's working out more, whether that's whatever it might be, working at your job a little bit better, working on your relationships a little bit better. Now's when the busyness of the year, the busyness of your month, kids, work, whatever that balance is, starts to fade away. And so today's episode, we're going to talk about, and this is something that I got from Mel Robbins, my mentor, one of my, I'm a huge fan of hers. If you hadn't had a chance to check her out, her new podcast, it's Mel Robbins Podcast. Go on Apple or Spotify and check it out. But today we're going to talk about how do we get out of our own head? How do we get out of that overthinking that we do so often? And we're going to bring it back to just some easy takeaways, some key takeaways. Specifically, we're going to talk about our nervous system, our gut, right? So much of what's going on up here starts down here, starts in our body, starts in our nervous system. We're going to talk about two different particular areas, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So first of all, just maybe the definitions. So the sympathetic nervous system is when we are in that fight or flight system, when we're angered, when we're triggered, when we're tempered, that person that cuts you off in traffic. What happens? That's where our sympathetic nervous system gets in. Our body revs up and gets ready for a fight, gets ready for anger. And a lot of that can be fueled by many different things, right? Fear, anxiety, you name it. And that's where we get into. And sometimes people are in that state without even being triggered. I know I've been there numerous times. If I have a lot on my mind, if I'm thinking about a lot of different things that are going on, I can get into that sympathetic nervous system and really kind of that fight or flight. And I can let just the butterflies in my head just kind of start spinning, right? And so that's the sympathetic. So parasympathetic is just the opposite, right? So parasympathetic is when we're more calm. Our nerves are more involved. So it's in maintaining homeostasis, right? It permits us to digest better. So we talk about our gut, we talk about our digestion. You're better to digest. It's easier to digest your food when you're in the parasympathetic. Sympathetic, you're like, your body's telling you, like, what we got to get ready to fight a lion, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? And so that whole idea of revving your body up is everything tightens up, restricts in your system. So your body doesn't digest things very well. Everything's kind of tense, right? From sympathetic. Parasympathetic, things are more in that homeostasis. You digest better. Your parasympathetic aims to bring the body to a state of calm. right? So today's podcast, I'm going to give you 6 tricks or tools to get from the sympathetic, that fight or flight, where you're ready to, go to war, to that parasympathetic, that point to calm yourself. So whatever in your life might be getting you into that triggered state, where you're tense and you have that anxiety, whether it's your kids, your work, or your relationships. These are 6 tricks that are going to help you take it from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, where you're more in that homeostasis, where you're calmer, where you can make more rash decisions, right? Because so often when we're in the sympathetic part of our brain, we can't get there, right? A lot of times we jump to conclusions. We say things we probably shouldn't say. And guess what? Once again, I've done this before. I know it. What's great about this is, as I learn more, as I keep learning from all my mentors, for the people I'm listening to, whether it be podcasts, from the books I'm reading, all the different areas that I'm looking into, hopefully better myself, I see where I've been in the sympathetic nervous system and where I'm like, oh, I'm holding myself back. I'm not able to do the things that I want to do. I'm not making good decisions. So the more I can switch, the better off I am. So hopefully you find these useful. So the six things, the 6 tools. Number one trick that you can do to trick yourself. So somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're like, use SOB, and you start, one of the things you can do is you could start singing or humming. Now you're like, oh my gosh, Paul, that's the last thing I want to do when I do it. And that's the whole point of this. You have to do something that's a little bit uncomfortable to get you out of that sympathetic nervous system. So you have to do something to trigger yourself back into that calm state, that state of homeostasis. So an example that I use is when I take a cold shower in the morning. And this was a trick that I got from, I think it was Tony Robbins. But one of the things I do is I hum the theme song to Indiana Jones. So I'll start the shower. I put it only on cold. And I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I'll switch it to warm. Maybe I'll switch it to warm. And what I do is I count down, the book right back here. I'm not a good meteorologist. I can't see the reflection. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I hop in the shower and then I start humming the theme song to Indiana Jones. I don't know what. So I was doing this without realizing what I was doing. Well, what I'm doing is that fear, that anxiety that I had to go into that cold shower, I was using that humming to switch that from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. I didn't even know it until Mel showed me this. So singing or humming is a great way to do it. Turn on that radio. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, turn on that radio and start singing, Gloria Estefan or whatever it might be, coming up on your radio dial. So that's your first tool. Number 1 is singing or humming to try to get yourself into that homeostasis, that parasympathetic. Number 2 is take a warm bath. So if you didn't like it with taking the cold shower, take a warm bath is another one that really can bring down that anxiety level and that fight or flight level, right? Taking a warm bath. Now, I don't take a lot of warm baths, so I'll hop into, we have a steam shower in the basement. So one of the things I do, another example is I'll go out and do a cold plunge. And I know that seems a little extreme, but I also make sure I'm coming back in and I bring myself down. So I stress my body and then I bring it back to that homeostasis. I come back into that steam shower and I warm up and it feels great. And then I have that dopamine rush from the cold plunge that takes me out throughout that day. So warm bath, warm shower, whatever it might be, that's the second tool that you can use to change your nervous system. Number 3 is a cold immersion plunge, and that reduced breathing. So one of the things I do when I am in a cold plunge or even in a cold shower is I focus. I actually close my mouth. I pierce my lips together and I'm breathing in and out. Now it helps because I'm humming usually in the shower. Once again, in the shower, I don't normally hum like I just did. And so I'm a little bit embarrassed by that because I can't carry a tune, but I hum. So cold immersion is number 3 is the trick. So if that's not what you do, go the warm bath route. But just another tool, once again, another tool. So singing or humming, take a warm bath or a warm shower, and then cold plunge and or a cold shower. So those are 3 tools. Number 4 is get moving. This is one anybody can do, right? Whether you're in shape, out of shape, everybody has a shape. and no judgment, no critiquing, right? Nobody's evaluating you, but you have that opportunity to get moving. So if somebody upsets you and you're in your own head and you find yourself just twirling them out and you can't get out of your own way a little bit, go for a walk. Get up and walk around the house. Go up and down the stairs, whatever it might be. Go exercise. Hop on that exercise bike. Go to that exercise class where you literally just you can't think of anything else but whatever the instructor's telling you. You're lifting, you're squatting, whatever you're doing. That is helpful. That's a way to get out of that sympathetic nervous system, right? It changes our neurochemistry in our head to also bring that homeostasis back to your body. So fourth is exercise or get moving somehow, one way or another. Number 5 tool is meditation. Meditation, I have found to be an unbelievable, useful tool for me in my armamentarium, in my work chest on how I can show up better each and every day by meditating, even 5 minutes. Go to Spotify, go to any of your digital apps. There's plenty of meditation. Calm is another really good one. I use Mind Valley is an app that I use, that I subscribe to, because they have some great meditations, and it's interesting. There's some really good science too to say that if you take a 10-minute meditation is the equivalent to like an hour nap in the afternoon. So it really not only brings you from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, but it also can kind of reboost your sleep a little bit during the day. So meditation is a big one. It's funny because once you start to do it, and once you start meditating more often, and I'll set a timer on my watch or on my phone, and I'll be surprised how much better I feel after I do that meditation. So meditation or even breath work, right? We talk about Wim Hof. So that's a 2-part piece of this number 5 tool is Wim Hof is another person you can YouTube, WIMHOF, the Wim Hof method. Talks about your breathing technique. And we've talked about this on this podcast before. Breathe in for 4, hold for 7 seconds. So breathe in through your nose for 4, hold for 7, and then exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. It's that whole release, that slow release that calms that heart rate down, calms that trigger, calms that anxiety down. Breathing and breath work is another great one. So that's meditation and breath work is number 5. And then number 6, and this is our good friend Mel, right? We talk about this all the time. Give yourself a high five. And we talk about it, all the time. What are you doing when you give yourself a high five? You're telling yourself, how can I help you? So that's just the acronym she uses. But one of the things we do, it looks dorky. It's corny. She talks about it all the time. She laughs at herself, but it works. It does change your neurochemistry. You're laughing, you're smiling. It's almost impossible to not give yourself a high five, or you give somebody a high five and not feel that little change in your heart. And what it is truly, it's your neurochemistry changing from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. Once again, I used to do these things. I just didn't know what was going on. Now we know. Mel's done the research, and now I'm sharing that research with you. So to recap real quick. 1, singing or humming. Maybe that's the tool you're going to use. Use that. Okay. If not, number 2, warm bath. Take that warm bath, warm shower. 3, cold shower, cold immersion, or that cold plunge. Number 4, exercise. Get your butt out of that chair. Go move. Go have a little fun. Take a little energy. Number 5, breath work, the Wim Hof method, or a little bit of meditation. Find that app. Find that cool bird noise on Spotify. I've done that before, where you hear birds chirping. I know it sounds, once again, Pollyanna, but it works. It works because it's worked for me. And then number 6 is give yourself a high five. Give yourself a high five, give yourself a big smile. And just once again, just do a few of these things, do one of these things, and it really can change how you're showing up. Because the more that we can be in that parasympathetic nervous system, the more we can live there, the more we are in that state of homeostasis, and the more that we can bring that calm and that homeostasis to others. One of my things that we talk about all the time, and I stole this from Simon Sinek. He uses it all the time, but take care of yourself first, which will allow you to take care of other people. The reason why I say that is because it's so important for us to make sure that we're showing up the best that we possibly can in order to help others. If we are in that sympathetic nervous system and we're going to help other people, whether it's volunteering, whether it's going to a school function or whatever it might be, we're so quick to get into that fight or flight, right? If we're already in that state, if something happens to you, you're so much more likely to be triggered by that. So why not get into that parasympathetic state? So why not take care of yourself first so you can help show, not only by example, but by maybe being a better listener, by maybe giving some helpful advice, maybe using and sharing some of these tools. So, all right, I miss BJ. I hope he returns very soon. But I am glad that I was able to share this with you. Hopefully, you found this useful. If you did, please like and subscribe on our on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get this content. Or if you're getting this on YouTube, please do me a favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to have workouts there. I'm going to have this podcast there, and we're going to continue to bring new and interesting content for you each and every week. So take care of you and take care of one another. We'll talk soon.